All right, everyone, class is about to start. Take your seats. Welcome to UGC 101, the podcast about all things user-generated content.
All right, we are back at the UGC 101 podcast. I'm your host, Nate Flake, and today we are joined by an awesome guest, one of the few guests I've actually had the chance to meet in person. So, Tran, will you go ahead and introduce yourself?
Yeah, of course. Hey guys, my name is Tran, also known as Tran UGC on Instagram. I guess me and Nate initially met because I was hosting like a live UGC creator workshop meetup type of situation. So I think you flew in from like Colorado or something, right?
Utah, yeah, close. We're next door.
Yeah, so he flew in and we got to meet each other in person and it was super cool. But yeah, basically I am a UGC coach. I kind of teach other creators and just regular people how to initiate UGC as well. So, and I think Nate, you're part of my community now as well. Yep. So yeah, super excited to chat.
Yeah, I'm excited to chat with you. So I will, we met at your foundation's event, which was the first and only event I've been to that is like a networking UGC event, right? Like we obviously, everyone that's in this community, we all follow like a lot of the same people fall in the same circles, but it's hard to get people at your local level, right? Like everybody, you're in Arizona, I'm in Utah. I interviewed Mary last week. She's in Canada. There's all these people that are all around North America and even Europe and things like that. But it was nice to be able to like physically get in the same room with people and actually like learn. So you did an awesome job on that event, by the way. It was really cool.
Thanks, Nate.
So when you do the next one, let me know. I'll be first on the waiting list.
Yeah, it'd be super cool.
So I wanted to get like one of the first questions I always like to ask is like people are going to go look at if they don't already follow you, which I'm sure a lot do because you have an awesome following, but people are going to go look at your following and say, oh, she got a ton of followers. Like you weren't always a UGC coach. So like, how did you get into it? Like, where did that journey start for you?
Yeah. So actually before UGC, I wasn't even like doing content creation at all. I was literally in healthcare. So I was an ICU nurse.
Wow.
And it was funny because like I was thinking that I was going to be really into nursing. I was like, oh, maybe I'll do nurse practitioner. I was going back for training to do like ICU. And I was like, okay, I'm just going to like try different units. And nothing was really hitting. And so I was like, you know what? I'm going to try maybe travel nursing. Maybe that's kind of like something I'm going to do. So I took up a ICU contract in Reno, Nevada, and I went there like 2 weeks early, which if you do any type of travel nursing, that's like so early, like you have nothing to do. So I didn't know anybody. I didn't have any friends. I was like super bored. I was like, okay, maybe I just need to do something to occupy my time. So like probably 99% of everyone else who discovers UGC, I discovered it on like a TikTok video. And this girl was kind of talking about it. And I was like, you know what? I think I might be able to just like do it because I have some of the skill set. So, I actually had run like a handmade earring shop like back in COVID. And it was right when Instagram Reels first kicked off. So like nobody was posting Reels.
Yeah.
And so I was posting a few Reels and that kind of like taught me how to do storytelling content. I went viral a few times. So I was like, okay, I can maybe transfer that skill set and just see. And it was like, I think even within 24 hours of sending out my first pitch, I already got a bite. So I already got my first paid collaboration. Don't think that that's easy because it wasn't
That's why I'm
easy.
shaking my head. I'm like, that's crazy because no. getting I don't know. Keep going. Sorry, go. Keep going.
Yeah. Well, it was honestly super misleading. Like, yes, I got the deal, but it was like super low content. And because I had no clue what the hell I was doing, the brand was like, we don't like this content. They made me revise it so many times. I was like, yes, I got the deal, but it was such a huge learning curve and like really, really humbled me. But I did manage to find a few other success stories. And so because I was kind of just talking about it online and posting about it, I was getting a ton of questions and naturally I was answering questions. I wasn't even really trying to position myself as like an educator or whatever. I was literally just trying to share information. Because back in 2022, 2023, there wasn't a ton of information about UGC online. So I think because it just got very popularized very quick, I was like, okay, I'll just kind of turn everything into a teaching moment. And I'm sure you know this too, Nate, but once you explain something to someone, you actually like learn it even better
You
yourself.
have to, yeah. You can't, because you're like, I don't want to look like an idiot, so I better research this a little bit more before I tell someone else how to do it. Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And I was just kind of like going through my process, like, oh, this is what I was doing, and like, this is how I was finding success. And naturally, I think I just leaned more into the educational content anyway. And then fast forward like a year and a half, I was like, I'm going to, like, I was getting a lot more partnerships. I was still doing it part time with nursing, but I was gradually like 2xing, 3xing, 4xing my nursing income. I was like, I'm going to take a break from nursing. I didn't think I was going to quit. I just like went and traveled for 3 months and I came back and I just never came back.
You never went
And
back to nursing.
no, I
So how
literally,
long after you like did that first pitch, the multiple revision pitch, right? Like, did you decide to go take that break?
that must have been a year and a half.
That's wild.
So yeah, I was in the UGC like space for quite a while.
Yeah, yeah.
I was probably at one point I was working like 60 or 80 hours a week because I was like so grinding
Dude, that's
on
what I'm doing right now. Yeah,
UGC.
it's like you're doing both at the same time, and it's like the money's great, and yeah, that's so interesting.
Yeah, the money is great, but also like you kind of have to do that at the beginning, but you know that it's not sustainable. So mentally you're like, this is like kind of unhealthy for me.
Yeah.
So I know I had to take a break at one point.
So, quick question: when you took the break, did you say like, okay, how am I going to supplement this? I need to ramp up, because you were like, I mean, everybody that does this part time, right? Quote part time, you're basically doing 2 full-time jobs. Like, you're saying no to some things because you're like, okay, I have this full-time income, so I don't need all of that. Did you do anything differently once you went part-time, or sorry, once you went full-time?
Yeah, so I was actually thinking of not even working at all because I went to Vietnam for a few weeks and then I went to Europe for like another month. So I was gone for almost 3 months. And at the time, I didn't really have too much supplemental income. I was not doing nursing stuff. But even then, I secured a ton of collaborations prior to me leaving. And then if I had some things that I could film on my travels and it was small enough, I just like made sure that it was shipped to my house prior to me leaving and I just filmed it there. And then after that, I was doing a lot of SaaS, so software as a service,
Yeah, yeah.
basically like apps and games and whatever. So those are not physical products. So I was just kind of making sure that I was stacking up on clients that didn't require any shipping stuff. Um, and then at the time, I was like, okay, I had a few digital downloads and some things, but I've really felt like I needed a singular place to drop a lot more detailed information where it was like a two-way feedback. So instead of like me just giving a PDF and then people downloading it and never looking at it again, I wanted a way for people to just like ask questions if they needed clarification. Because once you're in the UGC space, you realize there's a lot more information gathering that you need to do in order to scale and in
Yeah.
order to like, get those high paying clients. Like you can't just like make a pretty video and expect that that's going to tide you by for like long term.
Yeah.
So that's when I was working on my master class and I was hoping that was going to be more stable income too, but really it was just more of like a passion project. I
Yeah.
didn't really know if it was going to take off because we had literally zero members. So I was like, I mean, I'm selling some guides, but mostly it's just going to be like a space. And then I think it just took off from there and just became its own like income stream naturally.
So that's a perfect segue actually into one of the questions I was going to ask you, right? So when you first started, you had this master class, you had no idea, like you said, like who's going to get into it, like how many, you had 0 people in the course. So it's obviously grown a ton. What inspired you to even launch it in the first place? And also, how do you think it's different? I already know the answer to this, but how do you think it's different from other resources out there, right? I've been in, all of us as creators have bought a stupid amount of courses, like, because I think it's good. I think they all offer something. And so I want to know, in your opinion, A, like what inspired you to launch it? And then also B, how do you think it differs?
Yeah, so honestly, what inspired me to launch it was literally just like big demand from people. I mean, if people are asking you questions all the time, and for me, I'm super responsive and I feel really guilty when there's like a notification that I haven't answered, and I hate leaving people on red. So I'll reply, but I'm like, I'm answering the same question. Why don't I just have an easy, almost like a directory
Yeah.
where I just be like, okay, listen, if you want to know the information, it's gonna be all in here. And the thing about, again, a PDF guide that I was, like, really dreading was if there's too much information, you end up having, like, a 300-page book. No one wants to look through that. Um, if you do a video course, it's nice for some, like, people who have time to, for example, listen to podcasts and whatever, but the rate at which you absorb information visually reading something is, like, exponentially more than you sitting down and listening to something, and if you need to go back in and look for information, I wanted it to be searchable, almost like a Google.
Yep.
So, that's why I chose kind of like private community where I can host a guide so that I could save myself time, stop answering so many of the same questions. And then people can actually get more than that too. Because once you ask one question, you know there's like all these other questions behind it.
Yeah.
And if you're like doing things and you're encountering problems, um, I just wanted a way for people to like know that there's a resource to kind of troubleshoot that. Does that answer your question? I
Yeah.
don't.
Yeah, that's great. I think that all of us, I mean, you've been doing this way longer than I have, right? But I think at some point it gets to the point where you're like, okay, I've helped a lot of people a lot of time for free. You know what I'm saying? It's like, that's cool, but my time's also valuable, right?
Yeah.
It's like taking your car to your mechanic friend and they're always helping you out, and you at some point like that friend's got to charge you. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they have a skill and they have to charge you at some point, right? So I think there's this weird timing for every person that owns a course who's created any type of like educational content, where they're like they feel guilty, but then they also like want to, you know, they you have to value your own time at some point. So one of the other questions I want to ask on that same topic, and then we'll kind of get more into some other questions, is so you're super transparent on your platforms about pricing, pitching, scaling. Was that always the plan, or did you grow into that kind of role as a UGC educator?
Yeah, that was always the plan. Also because I was already sharing super transparent content online anyway. And for me, like there's different type of coaches out there. I think a barrier for a lot of people is two parts. The first part is like information gathering, whether or not you actually know the content, and the second part is mindset. And to me, I am never looking to be somebody's therapist. If you don't have the mindset that's like aligned with success, I'm like not going to be the coach for you.
Yeah.
But on the other side, if you're already like kind of motivated and you really just need like no bullshit information, then I was already prepared to give that. So that's why inside the guide, it's always super transparent. I mean, you're in there, like you see that I'm sharing like email correspondences
Yeah.
from brands, like exactly how much I'm charging and what I'm saying to negotiate certain prices. Because my dissatisfaction with other guides is that like they tell you the basic information, but I kind of need some hand holding
Yeah.
to go through the process. How are you like communicating with these people? What does the real life context look like? And I feel like that's just a lot more helpful to people if they're going to actually be successful in this. So, yeah, that's kind of I went into it knowing that I was going to be a lot more transparent with it than probably most people would recommend. But honestly, I also feel like you giving that will always come back to you tenfold.
Yeah.
And I always wanted to lead my like information giving like with generosity because it always comes back to you for sure.
Yeah. I think we are both on the same page when it comes to that. One of the unique skills you have is you are a UGC creator, but you also have worked on the brand side and on the creative strategy side, for example, and on the agency side. Do you think there is value in the fact that you're sharing that information too? Because I feel like I'm a big Fiverr fan, and I'll never bash Fiverr because I want them to sponsor this podcast at some point. I'm just kidding.
Oh, they
But
will. They will be.
no, but that's just manifesting. No, I think that some of the platforms, Fiverr included, and I think they'll be the first to admit it. It's like a race to the bottom, right? Of like when you, as far as pricing goes, right? So you have so many UGC creators that's like, okay, I'm just gonna set my prices a little bit lower than this person, and then pretty soon you're with these super low prices. Do you think in your community, I've noticed, like like you said, you're transparent about pricing, but do you think that has value of like keeping the agencies honest and keeping the brands honest, right? Because I mean, everyone's a business, everyone's trying to cut margin where they can and or grow margin where they can and cut costs where they can. Do you feel like that helps, right? So people aren't getting taken advantage of.
Yeah, I think so. I mean, if you're starting out and you have literally zero context to what the industry standard has been, you don't really know where you stand.
Yeah.
And also, like, I kind of more so share those things because I want people to, number one, not feel like they have to compromise in price just to get the deal.
Yeah.
Because after you've done it for so long and you've gotten a few brand deals, there comes to some sort of like glass ceiling that you can't break if you're only charging like X amount of prices and you're doubting to yourself, is it even possible for me to make more? How are people like how do you get to $20,000 a month if you're charging $100 per video?
Yeah.
And if you're too scared to charge more because you think people aren't paying for it, then seeing somebody who charges $700 per video and getting brands to say yes, that makes you know that it is possible for you too.
Yeah.
So that's kind of like why I do that. Also, like, I mean, the information that I share with my community, like privately, is obviously not always publicized, like to the brand side, but also like brands, the money that they deal with and the agencies that they deal with, once you're actually in that space, you realize that it's a lot bigger than like you can ever imagine. And they have a lot more leeway. Like, I used to think like charging $500 is a lot, and it still is a lot.
Yeah.
And then at one point, I just threw out like a crazy number. I charged $4,000 for one video. And I was like, and they didn't even negotiate with me. They were like, okay.
That's
So
insane. That's insane.
that's why
I'm one of
I'm
those guys that's like, I talked to you about this at Foundations. I'm like,
saying,
dude, I've done close to 800 videos now, and that $500 mark like still scares the hell out of me. Right?
it's hard to charge that
It's
because you're
weird.
not used to it.
Yeah.
And if you don't normalize it in your mindset and your vocabulary, you start saying yes to like lower pricing, but then again, you're hitting that ceiling. So that's kind of why I want people to know like, okay, UGC is like a baby. Think about what came before UGC, influencer marketing, right?
Yeah.
If influencer marketing is the norm, there's a ton of brands
Their
who have
budget.
been used to charging influencer prices. And if those agencies who transition from influencer campaigns to UGC campaigns, they're still working with those numbers, that means we actually have potential to charge probably 10 times as much as we charge now.
Yeah.
You just have to find the right people. I feel like on Fiverr, and I've never really worked on Fiverr, but from what I've seen from other creators working on Fiverr, the people who are looking to hire creators on Fiverr are going to be the more independent brands, the more like smaller companies. You're never going to see an enterprise brand searching for a company on Fiverr. Sorry, searching for a creator on Fiverr.
Yeah.
They'll probably go through an agency or they'll reach out to you specifically because they have a team that's like scouring the internet for creators. So that's why working on a platform like that, it's really great to like get yourself started. But because of the clientele that you're meeting every single time, you're going to get stuck in that mindset that I can't charge more than like $200 a video, for example. So yeah, I always talk about like, if there's a big deal, I'm going to share you guys how I get it, because then you're going to see like, okay, this is how I'm supposed to talk in order to get that big deal.
Yeah. Well, I think it's like it almost seems like unreal, literally. Like, oh, there's no way. But when you say like, nope, here's exactly how I did it, you're like, oh wait, so people are agreeing to that? Like, people actually responded to your email, when you talk about like pitching, that's why I shake my head. I'm like, because pitching's hard. I mean, I work full time. That's a part-time gig for me. So I don't have time to pitch, which is why I went the Fiverr route. Right. But now as I've gotten a year and a half into this, and I'm like, I feel like I'm pretty good at content, I'm like, I feel like I could like get out of this like Fiverr thing and into kind of more of the big leagues. But there's a balance of like, will I get the results pitching, but like, it's nice to see real practical stories like what you're telling. Like, yeah, I literally got this deal. I charge this much. This is exactly step by step how I got that. I think that's something that people, they almost need to see it to believe it, you know. I talk about UGC. I go on TikTok live. We're talking about, speaking of TikTok, I go on TikTok live all the time to, like, you know, talking about my community and things like that. And so many people are like, no, this guy's just like trying to scam you. Like, this isn't real. This is a like pyramid scheme. I'm like, they don't even know what that word means, but you know, and it's so funny. I'm like, what are they like? I think that just a regular person. I mean, I was one of those people. If I didn't know Tammy, right? Shout out Tammy, who's the one that got me into it. I would have like thought it was for sure BS. Like, you know, so it's nice to like actually see, oh, this is a real life use case where it worked for Tran. Tran did it, you know?
Yeah, I feel like I really resonate with those people too, because once you talk about numbers and you also have people like claiming that they're making X amount of money and there's not really like concrete proof to it, and you feel like maybe it's just like you're trying to get me into something because you're selling me. I get that because it does seem unreal, especially if you're not a celebrity, if you're not an influencer with a huge following, if you're literally just like a regular, like 9 to 5
Regular Joe Schmo like me.
dad, like,
Yeah.
you know, we live the same lives, and you think that that life is actually unattainable because it just seems too good to be true. So I get that a lot too, and that's kind of why on my channel, at least, I try not to talk about like singular deals of like, oh, I got a $3,000 deal. It's going to be a lot more education because I noticed that like when you talk about money, it kind of gives you in a different light. And the money is only just one part of it too. So that's why I mostly talk about like the life benefits, like what can you actually like gain out of achieving this lifestyle, and a huge part of it is going to be money. And guess what, like we're not living that much of different lives, and yet like you can actually attain like way more monthly. But yeah, people kind of just have to like learn more about it, but there's always going to be people that are like, this is so fake, because it does sound fake.
Yeah. Well, and like the work life balance is another huge benefit. Like, you know, it's not all just about the money. It's obviously the money's great, but there's all these other amazing things. You create your own schedule. You can travel when you want, like things like that. So,
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to ask you a question.
Yeah.
I know this is your podcast.
No,
but
a little reverse, you know? What's up?
Yeah. Well, so for me, like I kind of talk a lot to people. I answer a lot of questions, and the lines between authority figure versus friend versus advice giver kind of blurs together because we're just regular people. I'm not like some sort of professor, whatever. And so, but because I am who I am and posting the type of content that I do position myself in more of like an educator role. And so because of that, there are a lot of people who come back to you over and over and over, and maybe they're crossing those boundaries. Now you're answering every single one of their questions. Now they're coming to you for like a lot of, and they're asking you like, what do I say now? What do I say now? What do I say now?
100%. Yeah.
How do you like build that boundary with them? Or do you just get like, you don't address it, but you kind of just like get less and less quiet, or do you refer them to your community? Like, how are you building that barrier?
Yeah, I suck at it. I'll start with that. I'll for sure start with that. Like I think that it's tough because, especially like I have a perfect example, right? Good friend of mine, literally this last Friday, we're talking about UGC at dinner. We're on like a date night thing. And he's like, you know, I think I'm going to do this. I think I'm going to start doing this. I'm like, yeah, you should for sure do this, right? Like you've had this conversation a billion times, right? And it's always, everyone wants to do it. And then it's like, yeah, I'm going to do it. And you're like, cool, go do it, you know? And like knowing that 95% of those people are never going to do it. They just talk about it. So he was like, dude, well, what do you think the first step is? And I've had so many of these conversations. This time I was like, you know what? Hey, go buy my course, dude. Go buy my course. I'm not going to give you a freaking discount code, like full price course. Go buy the course. Like, you know, I know this guy has a good job. I'm like, he wants to do this as a side gig, kind of like what I'm doing. I'm like, go buy a course. And then we actually have a Discord, like pop in there. And then if you have questions, like I'll answer them just like everybody else, you know? And I thought he was going to be like pissed at me. He's like, okay, cool, sweet. Dude, I'd love to support you. I'm like, oh, okay. So then he did. And then like with literally, that was less than today's Friday. It was 1 week ago. And he's already landed three brand deals. And I'm like, okay, use case, you know, like how many times have I just like held a hand of someone for like weeks, like you like months at a time, you know, where I'm like answering small questions like, hey, so I'm in my Fiverr account. How do I create this? I'm like, hey, just do this, when in my head, I'm like, I literally spent like 60 hours on a course that tells you all this. Like you could go do that, And so that was like the one cool time I did it. Every other time I'm like, yeah, here, man, no problem. No, I'll help you. No, dude, no problem. Oh, you sure? Yeah. Oh, dude, I got it, So I've always done that for a long time. And like 95% of the time, that person doesn't even really get into UGC. They just want to like glean me for a million questions. And then they realize, wait, this is a little bit harder than I thought. A lot of effort. I don't want to do it. So yeah, not a great answer probably, Tran, but it's tough because you want to be a friend, but I always put myself in the other position, right? Like I'm a freaking people pleaser, which is why I think we're similar. Like I don't leave people on red. I'm super OCD about responding to people. I respond to every single message in our Discord. Like it's a problem. Like I'm like, I shouldn't have to get in every single message, but I think that with that also comes the fact that like I get taken advantage of a lot too. And like if it were a friend that was like, hey dude, I have this skill, right? Or like let's go back to the auto mechanic thing. I would never ever let a friend like fix my car that's a certified mechanic without paying them something. Right. And so I think like I'm like, that's right. Like you have a skill, like especially you, like you're way better at this than I am. Like you've been doing way longer. I literally saw you on an Adidas ad yesterday, by the way. I showed my wife. I'm like, I'm interviewing Tran tomorrow. Look at, she's literally on Adidas. She's like, oh, I like the transitions, but on TikTok. But I think that if you have a skill like you have, you should never like just. I mean, there's a difference between like being generous with it, like you talked about, and then getting taken advantage of, right? And I think anyone that's, especially if they're a good friend, if they get mad at you for like, hey, yeah, I'm happy to, here's a discount code to my course, they're like, oh, I'm like, if that's not like a cool friend anyways, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So that's like, I don't know, that's probably not a great answer to your question.
No,
But
I'm kind of in the same boat too, because I'm like, I don't know. And also, even if it's not a friend, if it's just like an internet stranger, but you guys have like developed some sort of relationship, and then they'll like, you don't really talk about your days, it's not friend talk, it's business talk. And so every time they talk to you, it's like
what do you want
sending
now?
screenshots. Hey, what do I say? Hey, what do I say? And I'm like, you're in, and also it's also people inside my course as well, and I'm like, it's hard because
100%.
I have to answer you. You're in there seeking support, but now I'm like, I almost feel like I'm a talent manager sometimes. I'm like, I can't answer every single email for you.
Yeah.
But
I recently had like this coming to Jesus of like in the Discord community where I wrote this huge long message in the welcome thing.
yeah.
And I said, hey, I was like, it was kind of rude. No, but everyone, like, no one got mad about it. I was like, hey, I'm not your chat GPT. If you can Google something, do not message me about it. Like, I was like, you guys, come on. Like, I'm a one person. I've got kids. I've got a wife. I've got like a full-time job. Like I'm like, it's kind of like you, like here's all the tools you need. Now I'm not going to sit next to you and read the instruction manual with you when you have the instruction manual on your own.
Yeah.
Right. If you build the bed and then you get to like, hey, where does this one screw go? Like, oh, okay, it goes right there. But I'm not going to sit there and read the entire manual with you because I already gave you the manual. Like I don't need to, I wrote the manual, So it's tough because it's so funny. Every single coach I talk to has the same thing where it's like they deal with like, yeah, I have these resources, but I think people, you just have to know people are inherently lazy, like I am for sure. And I think people just they don't want to go into a thread or like go into into Skool and be like, oh, where is this? I know someone talked about this. Hey, I'm just going to text Tran, what is the answer to this? When you're like, dude, it's in the freaking Skool in 18 different places. Right. So, oh man, it's tough. Yeah. It's like the unspoken part of being a coach, I think. And you've probably had a lot more of that than I have because I'm fairly new on that side though.
I mean, still, like, I definitely love helping people. I love seeing it click, and they're like, "Oh," I still really love those moments. But yeah, I don't know. I guess like the nice thing about having a Skool too is like the way that it's set up. Everything is like in a link. So if I can like pull up a section, I'll literally copy and paste the link. Like, okay, actually, you can read that in this section. You can read that in this section, and then I don't necessarily like I help them find where to find the information, but I'm like, okay, now you gotta read
Yeah.
it.
Yeah. Here, you got to go do the studying.
Yeah.
I think that the other thing that's nice about that, you're talking about like when it starts to click for creators. I love when people start to answer other people's questions, and then I'm like, thank you. Like, they're
God.
becoming the teacher, you know, like that's so
Yeah.
great. Because I'm like, dude, these questions, when you don't know them, yes, they're hard, but like, this is and this is the other thing, it's really hard for people. So if you're listening to this, we have a lot of like new UGC people listening to this, right? Like, it's seems so complicated, but anybody can do this. There's going to be some people that are better at UGC inherently, they're better on camera, more charismatic or whatever, but like anybody can learn how to do UGC, whether you have zero experience or you've been a marketing person for your whole life. And I think that it's hard for them to grasp that then once they get in, they're like, oh wait, it really is that, like, oh, people responded to my pitch and now I just make a video. They can't, like it doesn't like register in their head. And now I send the video and now they're going to pay me $300 for 30 seconds. Like, this seems illegal. You know, they're so stunned about it.
Yeah, I
So
love that though. I love those moments. And that's also why, like, I think it's really necessary as a creator, especially once you start scaling and getting up there and getting those newer deals, just like sitting back and realizing, like, actually, yeah, $300 is a lot of money.
yeah,
$500 is a lot of money. And I could have been doing hard labor to achieve this,
yeah,
and I didn't. So, like, just taking the time back to understand, like, I don't know, like how easy we have it in this industry sometimes is pretty crazy. Like, I went from literally wiping ass
yeah,
to like filming myself on camera and making 3 times as much.
yeah, that's wild.
So yeah, it's kind of crazy. I love UGC for that
Yeah.
aspect. Yeah.
Yeah. You could be doing way worse things, right? When that's what I think. Every time I get a cringe video, I'm like, yeah, I'm literally just speaking into this little metal box. You know, like it's a phone. Like, what am I doing? Why am I complaining about this? You know.
Yeah.
So let's kind of dive into some like newer creator advice. What's something you think new creators are overthinking, and what's something they're underestimating? Two kind of different tracks there.
I think overthinking I think number one is overthinking like your posting strategy. I think a lot of creators are like, okay, do I make a new UGC account? Do I post UGC examples? What type of content should I be posting? And I feel like the strategy is not as important as kind of just like getting the things out there. Um, for me, I've seen a lot of UGC creators garner success doing so many different avenues, and the one thing that connects them all is like they just post.
Yeah.
So if you're a lifestyle creator and you're not really positioning yourself as a UGC coach or educator, and your thing is not all UGC, but you're posting good content and you throw a little UGC tag in your bio, that's as good of a label as anything else, and that's still going to get you inbounds instead, and make you work less for pitching. Or if you're like posting educational content, that's also super really good top of funnel. Or you're just like kind of posting influencer type of content, but your partnership inquiries are there.
Yeah.
Like, that's the same too. As long as you kind of get the content out there, you shouldn't really like overthink it too much. As for like another overthinking type of thing is like making your portfolio pretty and spending a lot of time on it. And I think it's kind of less about the layout of your portfolio and kind of more of just like, does the content that you're making actually seem believable? Are you like kind of not are you putting too much fluff in there, like just for the sake of being pretty? Because you're just doing a lot of extra work for things that people are overlooking anyway. So I would say like that you kind of just need to care more about like the efficacy of your content rather than like how everything is looking.
Yeah.
And that goes to show for like personal branding stuff too. For things that people are underestimating, I think people are kind of underestimating how much like thought and strategy actually goes into creating a UGC video. Once you get more on the brand side or you end up hiring creators, you start to kind of like let go of all those kind of superficial biases that you feel like other people have biases about. What I'm talking about is like, okay, a lot of creators talk about agencies are paying me like so little for X amount of thing, and I feel like this type of creator ends up getting hired a lot more than, like, for example, people of color or something like that. And like for me as a person of color as well, like, yeah, it kind of sucks if, like, for example, like a blonde girl is getting like twice as much as me. But now if I'm on the other side, I have to think for the brand side, what, like, who is going to carry the brand message more? And if I'm going to hire someone who is more almost like of a blank slate in order to represent me, because if you already have like a very strong identity and that demographic doesn't necessarily match with the brand,
Yeah.
then I can't hire you for that. And so I start letting go of kind of some of those biases, and you have to look at it a lot more objectively. And then you start feeling less personal about things when rejections do come, or if you don't get those deals or something like that, because you just kind of understand the name of the game more. But yeah, strategy I think is very important in terms of like knowing how to talk the industry talk as well.
Yeah.
Like knowing what the direct response formula is, knowing what retention editing means, knowing all these little details that make a video engaging. That's going to be a lot more important, I think, than just like being able to make a video look pretty, and like that's your basic understanding of how deep UGC goes.
Yeah, that's super interesting. Yeah, I haven't thought about it on the like agency brand side too. But I think you bring up a good point, to your point of like, sometimes people will get upset. I mean, I see it too. Like, oh, I'm not getting as many deals as this person, or I get it. Like males are super high demand right now. And I get it. Like, I wish, it must be easy being a guy. I'm like, yeah, but I also don't like, I'm pretty sure that women get hired more overall, but there's just less men for sure. Right. But like, I don't have the data to back that up, but I'm pretty sure that's somewhere,
Yeah.
But I think the other thing that's important, I always tell new creators this is like, you feel like, oh, well, I'm not, skinny enough, or I'm not tall enough, or I don't have, like, for me, like, I don't have hair to do that or whatever it is. And I'm like, dude, there's like brands that have specific, like every time I get a brief, I always try to go with it, because a lot of times I'll leave the creator profile of like who they're looking for, just because I think it's like very, very funny to like what they think like mid 40s, out of shape guy, I'm like, oh, okay, I'm not even 40, but that's cool. And so like, it's just funny for me, but I'm like, guys, these brands have very specific, it's not so much like what your profile looks like, to your point, or portfolio looks like, to your point, but like sometimes just being you is 90% of the battle. Right. And I try to tell people that, like, especially there's like a lot of older creators that are getting into this, but I think that thinking it's a misconception that you have to be like some model to be a UGC creator. It's actually the opposite. Like, they want regular ass looking people because that's what sells. Like, they want relatability, like someone that they can, that's authentic, that they can immediately relate to. And so I think that's something that I try to talk all the time, like, guys, it doesn't matter. Like, there's a lid for every pot. Like, these brands are looking for a specific look, and sometimes you just have to be you. That's half the battle. And then just make sure you can freaking read a script and say, like, look half decent on camera when you're talking. You can make eye contact, And so I think there's a huge misconception there that, like you said, this isn't influencer marketing. It's very different.
And actually, that's kind of something I want to touch base on too, because UGC, because it's the brands that are hiring you, and it's not the brand hiring Nate Flake as Nate Flake. The brand is hiring Nate Flake to play this persona that they need you to portray, because they're trying to reach a particular demographic. So it's very adjacent to like acting. Like, you are kind of playing a character and you are like saying these certain things. And so like, obviously, when you're working with a brand, like, I still try to work very much with brands that are like super aligned with me. Like, if I agree with the product and like its value props, then yes, I do feel comfortable kind of like recommending this. But like, at the end of the day, you get to turn down what you're not aligned with. But if you are the one who's accepting it, like, if you're accepting the campaign, then you have to be prepared to like follow what it is that they need you to follow, because in the end, they hired you for your persona, for you to execute what it is that they need you to execute. So I don't know, I think sometimes people are like I don't know if I should be recommending a product like this, or like, is it okay if I say this because like I haven't actually used the product before? Ma'am, you're the on-screen talent. Like,
Actor. That's it.
yeah,
You're a
you're a
paid
paid
actor. Oh
actor.
yeah,
I
I can't.
mean, if you wanted to be an influencer, then like that's when those questions will come in. But at the end of the day, like,
Yeah.
you accept the campaign because you're the paid actor.
Yeah. Someone sent me a screenshot today of one of my ads and it has my name on it. And it says like Oliver Reacher or something like that. And my buddy's like, I'm like, you're not Oliver. I'm like, yeah, no shit, dude. Like, it's an ad. Like, I'm not going to give them my real name. Like, and they're not going to put my real name on an ad, you crazy person.
Yeah.
So that's pretty funny. One of the things I wanted to ask you too is like, you've been doing this for a while, right? Like, what is one, and maybe it's when you decided to go full bore on it, or maybe it's something, another milestone you had, but was there any like mindset shift or routine change that made a big difference in your trajectory of UGC?
Honestly, yeah. And the more I'm like going through it, and also like on a secondary note, like the more I guess like spiritual aligned I get throughout time, you do start to notice like the way that you live life and just like the general intention and energy that you exude around your business has a lot to do with what you garner for your business. So, for example, I at one point was very much like in a conflict where I felt like I needed something, as in I need more money, I need more clients, I need to get these videos that are paying like X amount of money. And when you feel like you're in a need, and I was like in those actions reflecting a lot of like franticness. Like I was sending out a bunch of pitches and I was like almost being desperate whenever I was negotiating. And all of that energy exudes like something that is not easy flowing. And so I started shifting my mindset to where I was like, okay, I'm not really going to have any expectations and I want more paying deals, which means I'm going to have to give up some of these lower paying deals. You kind of have to give up this like almost like a scarcity mentality of like, in order to reach X amount of money, I need to accept all these things so that all the little parts add up to the big part. And once you kind of let go of that expectation and feel more comfortable being like, no, I actually don't think it's aligned, but I can pass it on to somebody else who is kind of in that stage of like continuously needing to like just gain volume, then you actually do start to attract like the deals where like you're doing one video for the same amount of money that you would have gained if you did 10 videos in the past. And that also reflects in how you talk to brands as well. And then the brands feel more like, oh, actually, like she's booked and busy and she's very high in demand. So, like, we're way more likely to want to work with that person rather than like someone who's basically caving the moment that, they give you an offer. So I think that's a huge mindset shift for sure.
Yeah, no, that's super powerful. I think that that's something that I personally need to learn. But I think a lot of creators get to that point, right, where you get some experience under your belt, and I think it's, almost, like you said, desperate, right? Like desperate to take other jobs. I think somebody said, this is actually, I learned this at your foundations event, talking about like when you're super busy and you're like not, and you're pitching prices back to brands and they're not coming back with any sort of question, like that's when you need to reevaluate, like, hey, you're doing like too low of price. You have too low of prices, you're doing projects for too low. And that's something that like I thought was super valuable too, just on a side note. Okay, another question for you, and we'll wrap it up here shortly. I super appreciate all the advice you've given. So two more questions actually. The first is going to be around inbounds. Okay. So if you don't know what inbounds are and you're listening, so you're talking about pitching, right? Like going out to brands, emailing them, hitting them on Instagram, TikTok, or whatever. Getting inbounds, like getting people to email you without any effort on your end, right? I mean, there is effort on all before that. What is your best advice for people that are like, hey, I want more inbounds, Tran? Like, how do I do that?
I think the best advice is to just stock up on your personal branding. Personal branding is you posting things on your TikTok, Instagram, and Twitter, and just like publicizing your work and letting people know that it exists. Because when you pitch, yes, like you're making it known to like one person, two people, three people, however many pitches that you're sending. But if you're kind of like putting it outside in a public domain where you are discoverable to like millions of other people, then you're kind of beating the numbers game at that point. And what type of content that's always worked well for me, that always comes back to where like, oh, we found you because of this video on TikTok, is posting a video that you felt was like pretty out of the box, pretty creative, maybe something like that sidelined people. Like I had one video that I made for Shiseido, and I had like given it to them. They posted it. So I basically used that as a video case study. So I took that video and I made a video like, hey, I made this video. It got the brand like X amount of views, and here's how the video looked like. But I showed the video, but then afterwards I talked about the strategy, and the video was like, Asians don't raisin, like because it was like a skincare product. So that's kind of like an example of a more creative hook that I felt like, okay, not only did I feel like this was creative, but also it got actually like performance. And so when you can showcase something like that on Instagram or TikTok or whatever, it shows your expertise a lot more because you can break down your system, you can break down your creative process. And that one video probably got me like 4 or 5 new leads, not like immediately right away, but over a lifetime of like 3 years, like a bunch of people were like, we came from this video because we felt it was so creative. So
Awesome.
if you have a video like that, even if it didn't do that well on the brand's page, if you feel like it's kind of worth showing because you had fun with it, you felt like it was more out of the box, make a video about that. You can kind of break down the strategy. Or if you don't want to go too in depth, you can just post the video as is, break down the strategy inside the caption, and just make sure it's full of like SEO keywords like hashtag UGC example, hashtag UGC creator. And people who are searching for UGC examples in that niche will probably come across your video at some point or another. That's a great way to get inbounds, and like a good way to kind of like put yourself out there and like, yeah, kind of put yourself in an authority role in a sense as well. So those types of content, like strategy types of content, always really good. Yeah.
Awesome. Yeah, I love that. I love the idea of like having something that's unique, right? So, because a lot of the videos we do sometimes are the same playbook, right? And so it's nice to have something that's a little bit more unique that brands can see. So the last question for you, Tran, is if you're starting your UGC business fresh today, 0 followers, no portfolio, you had nothing, you deleted, everything's been deleted from your phone, what would your first 30 days look like?
So I think if you're just starting out as a UGC creator, you have zero resources. There's obviously 2 ways to go about it. The way that I went about it, because I didn't have any like resources to look for, I just looked on TikTok, I looked on Instagram, I typed in UGC, and I just tried to absorb as much information as I possibly can. The thing about doing that though is like all the videos are not necessarily like in chronological order.
Yeah.
And sometimes people are kind of just saying like, okay, this is one part about UGC and this is how you build a portfolio, da, da, da. But in actuality, I think there's a more streamlined process to start. So if you can find like a really good mentor inside the community that you can turn to, who've done it before you and kind of already has a strategy laid out plan, then I think that can eliminate a lot of time, save you a lot of time, save you a lot of money, and you can just find success a lot more easily. So of course, like I have to talk about my masterclass. My masterclass kind of goes over literally everything from A to Z. You don't have to be a beginner in order to get something out of it. But if you are a beginner, then we do go over everything from the beginning, including setting up your business, like taxes, EIN, contracts, write-offs and things like that, into even the more nitty-gritty, like what type of content should you be posting on your portfolio? How are you formulating your portfolio to where it's optimized for the viewer? How are you negotiating, pitching, like everything from A to Z? So yeah, if you're just starting out, figure out everything that you can about UGC, absorb the information like a sponge, and I would say try to execute sooner rather than later. Because if you end up absorbing all this information, you let it marinate for too long, you start losing steam, and now you have no clue what your next step is going to be because it's too jumbled in your mind already. So do it while it's still fresh. Don't let it get like stale bread. do it while you're still excited. And I think you'll gain a lot of success from that. And just be curious, you know, don't be afraid to ask questions. I mean, yes, we kind of talked earlier about this podcast where we do get bombarded with a lot of questions. But the thing is, we asked for that. Like, that's why we have courses. That's why we are positioning ourselves as coaches, because we do want to help people. So, like, you know, connect with people. Like Nate, already you've been in the space for like a year and you already know everyone that's relevant inside the space. And the nice thing about UGC getting into it now is it's still small enough to where you can become relevant more easily, and you can get connected a lot faster. So yeah, just be curious and don't be afraid to invest in your business. And invest in a course, because again, those actions will always align with success, because you know it reflects how badly you want to make it, and it'll always come back to you for sure. So that's my recommendation.
Love it. Yeah, and I think I can talk to that, like you're talking about your course, your community, even if you're experienced. Like I didn't get into yours until almost a year after I had started UGC, so I can definitely vouch. Like I've even just in the Skool community, not even counting the foundations event, like I've already learned a ton. And it's good to see, like, you don't know when you're in a vacuum, like, right, what other people are doing. You don't know. We're talking about like one of the craziest things that I learned at foundations, like, oh, if you're like not charging at least 500, like that's crazy. I'm like, oh, I am way off that. like I looked around, I'm like, I have more experience than a lot of these people that have started 3 months ago. But like, you know, and you would never know that if you don't put yourself out there and like go meet other like-minded creators. And I would also say, just to kind of on top of that, one of the biggest things I always hear is like, oh, UGC is just so oversaturated. But it's just so funny because I talk to like some of these people from big brands like Shopify, that are like dealing with hundreds of, like, if not millions of storefronts. And they're like, oh no, this is like just the beginning. Like it's going to 5x in the next 5 years. There's tons of data proving that. So unless the creators 5x, like we're going to be too busy. Like I already say no to a lot of jobs, you know, and I don't think people realize that. And you said that earlier, like there's a lot of jobs that come in. They're like, hey, when I decided I'm not, you know, I'm basically moved past that threshold of taking $200 jobs. If you're listening to that, like you're probably like, these people are crazy. $200, I would for sure take that. And like, yeah, there's room for everybody on all pathways of UGC, right? Like I started my rates at like $50 to $70 starting out. I'm like, dude, I'll take whatever. I'm an unpaid intern right here, you know. I'm trying to get experience. So anyway, so super appreciate you, Tran. If you guys are listening to this and you want to check out her community, which I highly recommend, it's going to be in the show notes. So just go to wherever you're, you know, Apple, Spotify, go to the description of the show and you'll see a link that will take you to her community. Hop into the Skool account. Super, super awesome community. Everybody's been super helpful. From my direct experience. And then if you want to connect with Tran, her Instagram and TikTok, it's all tran.ugc, right?
Yeah.
Tran.ugc. Okay. Any last words or anything you want to, any last words of advice, Tran?
Yeah. Kind of like building off of what you're saying, that like it's supposed to 5x, that is like way more true than you think, because from an insider view, I can let you guys know that UGC is going to be taken to commercial TV. UGC is going to be taken to like streaming services. So it's definitely really developing. And if you get in sooner rather than later, you're going to be able to get to those higher levels a lot sooner than like when all of a sudden the hype starts up again. So again, if you have an inkling that you want to start it, just do it. And if it's not for you, then you'll find out soon enough, but you can only find out once you're in it. So yeah, thanks so much for having me on, Nate.
Yeah, no problem. If you guys have any questions for Tran, you can reach out. As always, share this podcast with your fellow UGC creators or, you know, wanting to be UGC creators. You can find it on Apple, Spotify, or anywhere you find your podcast. Super appreciate it, Tran. Have a great day, and we will chat with you guys all later.